This video is going to be a lot less formal than my regular ones. Having my morning coffee here and responding to a question from a friend of mine, Stefan. I've done that before. He's asked some questions, and that prompted me to make some videos that other people liked as well, so thanks. My name is Dan Paulson. If I didn't say that, it's morning. I still need more coffee. Should I be answering this now? Yeah, I've been thinking about this because usually when people ask questions about my material, I'm right on the spot. In this case, it was something a little bit different. It goes into a different area that isn't really my realm, but I have been down that rabbit hole and I've got my thoughts on it. Okay, let me go ahead and read the comment. This comes from my buddy Stefan. I've known him for, about a year now. We've been talking and sharing thoughts. Okay. When I managed to master verse 25, 26, 27, and you know what? I apologize. This is on I believe this is part 3 of the interpretation of the Gospel of Thomas that I just recently posted. That's what he's referring to right here. When I managed to master verse 25, 26, 27, also connected with verse 35 about strongmen in some similar way, I will master it all because I have been tempted by it since my awakening when I reached the so-called crown chakra and felt those energies. Since that day, I have encountered many problems. Firstly, with people around me who seem to be testing and triggering me on a daily basis, including some close individuals. Secondly, I easily absorb negative energy. Even if someone is a good person, I pick up on their dark energy instantly, and I need to filter it. A few days ago, I hugged a friend out of compassion for her problems. It felt as if I was electrified by her anger, disappointment, and all the negativity she shared. She felt much better, even energized after the hug, while I felt exhausted, starting to feel anxious and nervous in my chest. This happens all the time, but I understand it's a challenge I need to master. I'm trying to find the best way, but it's a tough battle. I don't know where this belongs in the mental area, trying to figure out if you have or ever find something out about these. Yeah, please help and share with me, my brother. Love you. All right. Love you back, Stefan. Hope you and your family doing okay. All right, I had to look up these verses. I know the Gospel of Thomas very well. If somebody quoted a verse, I could probably say that's from the Gospel of Thomas. But I couldn't tell you which number it was, so I had to go look up to see what you were referencing here. And I've got them all 4 together here, 25, 26, 27, you mentioned together. And I've identified some things here. So let me read these. Jesus said, love your brother like your soul. Guard him like the pupil of your eye. You see the mote in your brother's eye, but you do not see the beam in your own eye. When you cast the beam out of your own eye, then you will see clearly to cast the mote from your brother's eye. If you do not fast as regards the world, you will not find the kingdom. If you do not observe the Sabbath as a Sabbath, you will not see the Father. It is not possible for anyone to enter the house of a strong man and take it by force unless he binds his hands. Then he will be able to ransack his house. Okay, those were the ones you referenced. And I put something in here. Let me go back and reiterate something. I don't know if I'm very clear on this sometimes. To me, the Gospel of Thomas is a downstream iteration of anything from Jesus. The Gospel of Thomas was not first. It wasn't the origin. And it didn't coexist, likely it didn't, with the timing of being verbally passed around in the culture, the two Jesus preachings, the Sermon on the Plain and the Sermon on the Mount, those two right there. We will find in the Gospel of Thomas some things from the Sermon on the Mount, no doubt. Some of it almost word for word, of other parts reworded or analog shifted or something like that. You can see that the Gospel of Thomas gathered up Jesus stuff. Now, the reason I say that is the way it happened and not the other direction is because also in the Gospel of Thomas, I find things, the 5 trees in paradise. You don't find that anything like that in the Bible. You will find that in other teachings, Marduk, or, how many favors granted to a god or something like that. You'll see that 5 emerge in other places. 5 beams in Marduk's head, 5 trees in paradise. That's more of a Greek thing, like Plato. 5 layers of administration or something like that. Okay. What was I getting at here? And also because you see Aesop's fable, the the dog is like the Pharisees, like the dog in the manger, is the Aesop fable, the dog in the manger. So you see that the Gospel of Thomas has been gathering up things from different sources and reworking it. It seems more unreasonable to me to think that the Sermon on the Mount and the Sermon on the Plain emerged sounding like they do, very specific Jesus, very similar, and that came from the Gospel of Thomas. Yet somehow they were managing to extract out all of the Babylonian, Marduk, early, pre-Genesis stuff, as well as the Greek material as well, and got it sounding specifically like Jesus only. No, it looks to me like the Gospel of Thomas is the one that grabbed things up. That would be the easiest explanation for the consistency in that. The Gospel of Thomas I look at as my Rosetta Stone. It showed me a lot of things, and it also showed me how they are rewording similar things. So, okay, the Gospel of Thomas to me is good, but it very specifically is a collection of these verses from all over the place on a global scale that are holding the teaching that is about the inner psyche in a variety of different ways. They all fit. They belong together. That's why I called the Gospel of Thomas my Rosetta Stone, because I saw all of those things come together. It was sloppy, but you don't know that unless you read everything else. So, okay, the Gospel of Thomas was important, but what we need to understand is that all of it is just encrypted codes that they're putting together to create another variation of the way. It's another arc. Gnosticism, Christianity, Judaism, all of those are carrying the same template. So that's what they're doing. They're just creating new ways of carrying that template to people that believe differently than someone else over there. Here, let's create our own version of it, but keep the template there. That's what's going on. We're going after the template. All right, let's go back and look at those verses again. I want to do some comparison and do some talking about it. I see them a little bit differently. Again, this is simply my interpretation. So there's nothing set in stone here. These are things we have to analyze in our own minds and see if they make sense to us. So let's go ahead and see what there is. To begin with, let me go back and I'm going to look at verse 25 and 26 right here. The first two, and I'm going to separate those out. See how these are all referencing an eye, your brother's eye, your own eye, the mote that's in your brother's eye. Then the next verse down here, it says, if you do not fast as to the world. So it changed from something about an eye to fasting, and then down here to a strong man. So what I'm going to do is separate those out. I'm going to keep the ones that are an eye together, and then I'm going to jump, after reading them, I'm going to jump right down and read from chapter 7 from the book of the Gospel of Matthew. This is from getting near about probably 2/3 or 3/4 of the way through the Sermon on the Mount. Jesus said, love your brother like your soul. Guard him like the pupil of your eye. You see the mote that is in your brother's eye, but you do not see the beam in your own eye. When you cast the beam out of your own eye, then you will see clearly to cast the mote from your brother's eye. And then from the Bible, the version, that was from the Gospel of Thomas, now from the Gospel of Matthew. And why beholdest thou the mote that is in thy brother's eye, but considereth not the beam that is in thine own eye? Or how wilt thou say to thy brother, let me pull the mote out of thine eye, and behold, a beam is in thine own eye? Thou hypocrite, first cast out the beam out of thine own eye, and then thou shalt see clearly to cast the mote out of thy brother's eye. How's your conversion as you read from Old English to English? What does this say? You see the mote in your brother's eye, but you do not see the beam in your own eye. Why do you see the mote that is in your brother's eye, but you do not think about the beam that is in your own eye? When you cast the beam out of your own eye, then you will see clearly to cast the mote from your brother's eye. First cast the beam out of your own eye, and then you shall see clearly to help your brother remove the mote from his eye. There's a 1 in the middle here, but you see that there's something there about an eye. So I've got my interpretation up on that. I don't want to rehash that here. It's in the video. So to me, that the eye though is very specifically the bundle of memories that we live through. Or if that isn't there, there's just a channel of energy that we exist through, where there is infants first, but when we have experiences, we're channeling energy for life through our bundle of perceptions, and we view and see life through those perceptions. That is the metaphorical eye right there. There is no other way that it will work. I know, people talk about, what is it, the pineal gland or something like that, and that it's what regulates sleep and produces melatonin. It's probably what works with something else on our brain that wakes us up at 3 a.m. It's probably doing something there more than just, it's not just sitting there. But it isn't something that is a psychic window into reality. The eye is what we view life through. When Jesus starts right off saying, blessed are the poor in spirit, that is, blessed are the poor, we convert that. Blessed are the poor in what you have accumulated that you live through that hurts you, for yours is the kingdom of God. And how do you do that? You take the mote out of your eye. That is a metaphoric location. Again, this is the perception in your mind. It's a mental perception area that you continue to view life through. All of these things happen to me. Now when I live life, I see that stuff all the time because I hold it as a part of me. As we keep going through the material, what we have judged is going to continue to come back and haunt us. The third eye is all about clearing that stuff out. So, I wanted to say that. Okay, the next verse says that if you do not fast as regards to the world, you will not find the kingdom. Okay, so we need to, regarding the world and the kingdom, we know the kingdom is that mental space that we're looking for, our nirvana, our happiness, our good place to live now. And in order to find that kingdom, we have to fast as regards the world. Fasting in the spiritual world does not mean food. It means, what are we consuming? What are we taking in? What are we feeding our mind, our soul? We need to get away from that. We need to fast. What happens in the stories after, in Exodus, when Moses, who is on the hero's journey, that's us, we are the one on this path. When we struggle to leave our past, there's cyclical pain, plagues happening. We struggle to leave. We try to. Pharaoh chases us, representing our past coming after us. We finally cross a threshold going over through the Red Sea, and we end up where? 40 years in the desert. Jesus, after he gets baptized, he crosses the threshold, 40 days in the desert. Here what we have is, it doesn't say the 40. It's leaving that out, but it's telling us that you need to fast as regard the world. You will not find the kingdom. This is that point where you're in the desert. You must get away from all of the things going on and quit experiencing all of the things that you're caught up in. You have to get away from that and make a change. So that's the first one. You must fast as to the world. That is helping us clear out the eye. So it's a different step. If you do not observe the Sabbath as a Sabbath, you will not see the Father. The Father in this mental hierarchy is the higher awareness. That's the part of us that exists outside of our emotional experience. And if we want to get there, we must observe the Sabbath as the Sabbath. This is the reference in Jewish material, day 7. Day 7 is the day that was set aside, and God rested on day 7 because God saw that it was good on day 7, and he rested on day 7 or something. That 3-day, 7-day sort of thing right there. The Sabbath day is that day of worship for the community and for the people on the template. It references that point in time we were naked, unashamed in the Garden of Eden. So if we do not observe that point as that point, we won't see the Father. We need to heal through that. So we've got to clear our eye by healing through our issues. And then it comes down, it is not possible for anyone to enter the house of a strong man. This is our destruction. We know a cycle of pain is coming. That's what is happening here. Pain follows like the foot of the ox that draws the carriage, Buddha would say. In this case, we got a strong man ransacking a house. He'll be able to. When we know that it's coming, we have to make preparation. When you get to a point in your development and you go, damn it, I get triggered with this and I hate to, and I get done and I say, I am sorry, I will never do that again, I quit. And it happens again and you're asking yourself, why does this happen? Okay, right there, you are becoming aware of the fact that the strong man is coming to wipe you out. Yeah, wipe you out. Binding his hands means understanding it, knowing it, looking at it. What triggers me? What do I have in my garden? Which means, what do I have in my memories that triggers me, that makes me feel this way? What conviction do I have? Anyway, so that's how that works right there. Okay, so I just wanted to say that about those, the interpretation of those. What was now, then that went into something different. This is where it goes a lot different for me. So let me just speculate here. Okay, let me go back and reread and let's cover the rest of it. That first section up there, the verses, we just took care of all that. Now what I want to do is get into the rest of it, which is, we're going to put it all together. This is all going to fit. It's what's going on in your head right now. Okay, and you said something like, because I have been tempted by it since my awakening when I reached the so-called crown chakra and felt those energies. Okay, I want to just stop right there for a second and say I don't know how that works. I don't know what that means. I don't know how to track that. I did at one point in time in my studies go down every rabbit hole I possibly could. What's this? What's that? What are chakras? Let me look at this. And at some point, your understanding as somebody that's super science based that there are things here and there's sensations in certain places because of the way your body feels, because of glands, the way if I got a gut feeling there's something I feel here, it could feel good, it could feel bad. All of those sensations are there. I can have sense of impending doom or delight. I can have all kinds of sensations like that. But they're part of the way that the way the brain works and the way that it holds things emotionally and the way as a result it feeds the central nervous system and the rest of our body, whatever else at any point in time. Our sensations are coming from where? When you have an emotional feeling, where does that come from? It comes from the way you mentally feel about something and experience it and process it. And when the feelings are bad, it's because there's a lot of bad processing going on. Okay, so this is what I want to say. There's a point in time where meditating on chakras is effective right off the bat. But it's like anything else. When you begin to apply yourself to something new, listening to a frequency, doing something here or there or whatever, it can be very uplifting for a short period of time. You're doing something new. You're exploring something new. Your mind is going someplace new. You're looking for an end around and you're finding it. But it only happens for a short period of time. And the reason is because we get used to things. We get used to that being there. And once the excitement of that is over with, we become accustomed to it. We go right back to experiencing the nature of what is not resolved. So to me, the idea of having chakras and having awareness like that is something that is important from a cultural standpoint where you have people that are emerging that need a way of life. Having a teaching that at the core is about you're a product of your memories. You are a bundle of memories and you must erase them to be something different. But it doesn't, at the same time, it needs you to know that now you become something different. So instead of just realizing mechanically that happened and that you're some sort of this organic automaton with no sensations, you still have a life you want to live and you want it to be joyous. So not only do you rectify something in the past, but you replace it with something that is positive to your life experience. So now not only am I healing those things, but this healing process that if I don't turn inward is nested in such a way that it is built on a platform that if I follow it, I'm living right next to that anyway. I'm living the peaceful, easy things. If I am not looking at and healing my energies, I'm learning to watch it come and watch it go and not react to it. So it's going to gradually dissipate. So there's lifestyles in place that instead of just saying, I was that, now I'm no longer that anymore, and now I have no interest and I don't know what I'm going to do or anything like that. You need to have something in life. Humans need to habituate towards something or you're just going to float off into nothingness. You have to habituate somehow your life experiences. You simply want to do it in compliance with what you want the end result to be and then stick with it and commit to it. So that when it comes down to all of the other sorts of things, I believe that meditating on chakras and whatnot would be the same sort of a thing. Here's a lifestyle that you have. Instead of just healing yourself, sit and we're a different culture. We don't do what they do. So we do this instead. We're going to meditate on these parts for these reasons, for this experience, for this sort of improvement in life. And that will happen because what does Buddha say? All that we are is the result of what we have thought. As long as you're going through the processes mentally and believing it and doing it with conviction, you're becoming that. That's what's happened already. That is why we are the way we are. We've done it with conviction. We just didn't know it. We believe our life experience without, and by that I mean we believe that that is what life is, what reality is. What I mean is we don't understand that those are the memories and our perceptions of the memories that we are continuing to live through, and that we're much bigger than that if we can get out of that. Okay, so when it comes to chakras and things like that, I'm like, I don't know what to do with that stuff. It's kind of like saying, to go pray to a higher being. To me, I'm very science about this. Seriously, somebody that's into that and meditates on them and looks at me and listens to me and says, buddy, you're wrong. It works. I say, yes, I know it works, but it's not the only thing that works. It doesn't mean that the chakras are there. It means that what you're focusing on is happening because somebody else is making the same changes you are, but they're not focusing on chakras. They're focusing on resolving something. They're focusing on forgiving somebody. Everybody's getting the same results, but they're doing it through different ways. So what is the bottom line then? What's really there? It's not the chakras, it's the mind. So for me, as I get into this, I realize I'm not doing it as any practitioner of any way of being. I'm finding the very core template, but I'm finding that accidentally my lifestyle, I'm not going to put on robes or be a monk or live some kind of a lifestyle like that. What I'm understanding that this is a mental process and that I don't have to be a monk to be experiencing nirvana. That I understand what the teachings are. And that, of course, what I do then is my lifestyle is one of outdoor activities, studying my books, mountain biking or things like that. I'm slowing down with that stuff. I'm really getting into the study now, so I'm slowly shifting into a more indoor study lifestyle. And but I'm having fun. I'm enjoying it, and I'm getting someplace. So I think that is what is important here. The religions are meant to provide a lifestyle. If all of them are built on the same template, the outside is to provide lifestyle or control, big brother, that sort of thing. Okay, with that having been said, let's get into the next part. I have encountered many problems, firstly with people around me who seem to be testing and triggering me on a daily basis, including some close individuals. Secondly, I easily absorb negative energy. Even if someone is a good person, I pick up on their dark energy instantly, and I need to filter it. A few days ago, I triggered a friend of mine. Okay, so we'll stop right there. We'll stop reading that for a minute and talk about that. Okay, imagine an energy field that we are right now. This empty space right here it only seems empty to our physical senses, but it's an energy field that we come from, and it contains everything. Right here in front of my face, I've got all of my local television channels, people's radio signals, internet signals, satellite signals, all of that right here. I could pick it up. I could pick up a radio like this and talk very specifically to somebody with another one like it. I can grab my phone and get onto the World Wide Web or look at videos or do things like that, but they don't work together. I can't turn this on and listen to YouTube videos. I can't turn this on and talk to my buddy down at base camp while I'm, checking out some ridge line up here. I have to do something different. We've got different devices for different frequencies. Vision is the same way. At some point in time, we're dealing in an energy world, but we're doing so in a perception that is so organic that it just seems like this seamless organic sort of thing going on when there's energy behind it. There's a cause behind everything. Okay, now what I want to say here is that we are like one of these receivers, except that we have become tuned. The way that we are tuned, this is that eye, the third eye thing, the way that we are tuned to experience life in the field of all human possibility is based on the way we are holding our memories and our perceptions of memories. and combinations of memories. So to me, if I am getting triggered by something, it's only because I can get triggered by that. If I'm experiencing something, it's only because that is within me to have that experience. Some things, I mean, if you see somebody getting slaughtered or something like that, most people should, if something's not wrong with you, should feel very bad about that. There's things that we should experience in life that we look at that give us, that have an emotional impact, that are something for our evolution. It teaches us, get out, move, get away, fear this. We function in that modality in life, not realizing the intensity of something in the background there. But we're in a field where we are now experiencing emotion in a different way, but only based on what our brain can allow us to receive. Not everybody can do that. What I'm going to do is say that I've never had your experience, but I've thought about this. That's why I took a little bit of time, because I was like, you know what? I have had things where I could describe your symptoms. However, I would just attribute them to something different. I have had situations where it was like nothing was right. Everybody was triggering me. Nothing was okay. And I didn't know it at the time. Looking back on it, what I can say is that we fit someplace. We all fit someplace based on our energy. We combine with people in a certain place. Now, when we're healing, we're trying to get beyond certain things, and we're leaving and changing the way we fit in an environment. And what happens is that environment starts to feel hurtful and toxic to you. It is. It's preventing your growth. However, you're not going to look at it that way. You're going to look at it instinctively, like something out there is happening to me, when actually it's your experience that is emerging. I would speculate that based on what I see, it would be like, you have to consider a couple of things. If you're growing and you no longer fit in that environment, and it is now becoming toxic, and people that were once your friends are, what you don't realize is that you are changing if you're growing, and they are not. Things that you are healing over are things that are still their fears. You are now becoming an enemy as opposed to an ally in the realm of emotion, shared emotion, fears. I'll protect you if you protect me. Yeah, we don't talk about this ever, but somehow something in the background is going on. Okay, so for me, it got very bad. I had difficulty with coworkers. It actually became hostile at times. There were other reasons as well. There was political things happening. There were changes happening in America, that things that used to be honor and honesty just went completely out the window. People took different sides in a very hostile way in work environments, where I was in a government work environment where it was permitted, and it was just toxic. If you're tribal, it was good for you. If your tribe is global, it was not good. If you have a bigger scope of humanity and understanding, it was not a good place to be. And it just ate me alive. People that were friends became enemies, and even lies and accusation flew around, just as, this person this person that. They must be this way. They must be that way. I saw it on TV. I see what they're all about. I don't know if that's what's happening, but that will happen if you are no longer fitting. Okay, there's a part in the material where a doctor doesn't heal his family, and a physician or something, a philosopher doesn't teach their village. This is that area. You're talking about some of that stuff too. Yeah, where you mentioned that on another comment about the left hand not know what the right hand is doing. There's something more to it, but you're right. There's a point where when you are growing and you're developing, the people around you hear and see it, and they don't like what you're doing. You're coming through the very issues that they don't like. They become hostile to you because you represent something that exposes their fears. And that's the nature of it. You don't fit. It won't feel good, but they're not putting anything on you. They're in a field that you fit with. And if you experience it, it's not because you're an empty radio that can tune in any possible thing out there. Well, you are. You're a radio that can tune in any possible thing, but the only thing that you can experience is what you have established as one of your tune points. I can experience this. So, I have this shame, I have this hatred. Whatever you hold is something that you now say I can experience. These are part of my filters. I'm holding shame. Perfect. That's a part of what I view life through. That's a part of the mote that is in my eye. Shame. I will now view shame. I will now view hatred. I will now view all of those things that we hold because they're a part of us, but we don't know it. So that's where it gets difficult because there's this blend between there's something mechanical going on that is like organically robotic, except that it is completely an emotional, self-aware experience. It's life. You might be somewhere where you don't fit. And yes, you're going to make somebody feel better who needs it, but they're not putting anything on you. What you are is receptive to feeling their feelings. You're picking up on them. But only because you've got something in you that is unresolved that still allows you to tune with that sensation. You would not be able to feel it otherwise. Or you might be aware of it, but you would be able to disconnect from it, not in a way that it hurts you. You would look at it more like in a way of sympathy for the other person as opposed to feeling dragged down by yourself. I mean, dragged down your own self. You shouldn't lose energy. It's going to happen, though. There's a story about Jesus walking through a crowd and some woman touching his robe and him. I've never interpreted this one, but he's walking along, and how did he know that she touched his robe? Is because he felt some of the virtue leave him. What's that? Yeah, kind of hit on something like that. It sounds like that same thing. You give somebody a hug and you feel some of the virtue leave you. I think that it's not virtue leaving you. I think it's tuning into an energy that is there all the time anyway. But at what point in time do you put that channel on and listen to that one? Typically, we got them all going at the same time. Whatever suddenly picks up, chatter up. Oh, gonna go look at that one. Get triggered here, triggered there, or something like that. Okay, so I wanted to say that. What else was in there that I maybe should look at and address? She felt much better, even energized after the hug, while I felt exhausted, starting to feel anxious and nervous in my chest. Yeah, you might need to be have you outgrown the place? This happens all the time. But I understand it's a challenge I need to master. I'm trying to find the best way, but it's a tough battle. I don't know where this belongs to in mental area. Okay. So in mental area, it's personal. But in a larger scope, you're going to be fitting in an environment based on what is here mental. It's not just the physical experience. There's also something going on in the background. So if you're making changes while your environment is it, you're going to cease to be the bird of that feather. And it's not going to feel okay. You're going to get triggered. You're going to feel like, oh my God, what's going on? How come this? How come that? Because you are rising. I hate to say it. You're letting things go and rising above them. That doesn't mean you're above other people or things like that. It means you're rising above these physical experiences of fear that people hang on to. You're figuring it out. And you do keep it to yourself because they go, yeah, up yours. Yeah. I've had people that, I've admitted to things before and have people get angry and say, oh yeah, you must have liked it. You got to tell everybody about it. You must enjoy it. You're like, man, that's somebody that's got issues. I've talked about that before. If you want to talk out things, you find people that are okay with it. You got to talk to the right people. People that are really disconnected from your experience and are forgiving and understanding, and that'll lift it from you. Yeah, I don't know if I see much else here. I would look at myself. If you're feeling an experience, it's not because you're sitting there going, I'm fine, and then boom, I'm getting something. You are tuned to that. If you can experience that emotion, it's because you're tuned to experiencing that emotion. And that's okay. I think in this case, it's easy we still look outward at what is wrong out there, when in all reality, we might need to move on. And you know what I would have to say for me, it's just this gradual knowledge and awareness of variations in value systems that just eventually kind of eat you up. People are what they are, but oftentimes you're working with people that you would not choose as friends. You're kind of stuck there. And When people don't share the same political views, that should not be something at the workplace. But more and more today, you get that is something that is happening. And people get downright, actually violently accusatory in big ways today that they never used to. And that's never a fun thing. There's a point, though, where I understand that as growing, and I mean, I never used to be like them to begin with. It's just that this stuff is kind of emerging. It's getting permission to come from the background up into the surface. So, where I've got a value system about humanity, they don't share that same value system. The value system is us against them. And, it's just hard to describe it. There's a point where I realize I don't fit with their viewpoints. And I remember at times feeling very sanctimonious, sitting back and thinking, what a bunch of, what a bunch of ogres, I got to be careful what terms I use here. That I simply was in a place that was, there's a balance. You're working. You're getting close to retirement. You're not going to leave because of that. The environment is changing. You're changing. I'm glad things happened when they did. But early in life, I've had issues. Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know how to say it for you. You have to look at your own situation and weigh it and evaluate it. Sometimes you can leave it. Sometimes you realize what's going on. Sometimes you just have to understand yourself and the way that you manage it in a different way so that you're still there, but the things that bother you cease to bother you. Finding some way to make that transition, whatever it takes, is going to be individual and based on what the person faces. There's people that are in abusive situations that realize, I need to get out of here, and they go. There's others that might say, well, if I leave this, I get abused once in a while, but if I leave, I don't have any food. I don't have anywhere to go. We all have to make our own decisions on what we're going to do. There's no easy answer. Sometimes maybe that's why religion is the way it is. And that's a harder thing to look at. And it's also a harder thing to do. There are times where you can't move on. So you go, okay, how am I going to manage this then? You have to find different ways of looking at your job. I remember at times thinking, okay, this is if it was 2 million years ago, I would be struggling every day to eat. I would be hunting and foraging. This makes life easy. Weekends come, I can go do something here. I can do something there. At some point in time, headphones were coming on board that I could, I had a job that allowed me to kind of disappear from what was going on around me. Not everybody can do that. Sometimes you have to stay engaged with the people around you. I didn't have to, so it just depends on the kind of job you have and the nature of it. Anyway, all right. I wanted to say those things. Chakras. I think that there's just there's experiences that we feel, and when you feel it like that, it's a visceral. I mean, you feel it everywhere in the mind, though, but in the body, all over the place. Yeah. And okay, I don't know what else to say. I guess that was it to respond to that. I hope that. I don't know if it helps you any. It kind of illustrates my interpretation that I believe it's mentally interactive and the results of doing it, and that we're still based in an energy thing, but that we have to continually look at ourselves. If we're experiencing something emotionally, we have to look at why we are experiencing that within ourselves, not why we're receiving it from outside. It's always outside. You, however, may be receiving it from an environment that you must escape, and it's going to be difficult to escape that. There's going to be cyclical pain, difficult to leave the past. You've got to cross a threshold and go to a quiet place. Do you get the myth? We need to know why we're receptive to it and experiencing it while thinking it's coming from outside when it is. But that's not how we turn it off. We have to stop being tuned to that channel. Now, this is where the difficulty comes in, of course. Being tuned to that channel means we're open to it, but if you're bathed in it, you might have to escape it. So you have to look at each thing differently. And if you can't escape it, then you have to turn around and say, okay, then I've got to look at some way of facing something that I didn't want to face. I said, no, I don't like it. I don't want to deal with it, but I can't leave it. Then what do you get to do instead? Hate it forever? It's best not to. If you want there to be change, you got to be happy. You got to find a way to be happy about things, to disconnect from the things around you. And the difficulty in that can be just, I cannot underscore how difficult that is. You're elbow to elbow with people. How do you turn that off if you're the kind of person that can't turn things off? There are people who go, I don't even listen to them. And you're like, how come they never shut up? There's a difference. Brain types. Okay. If you're on this path, you'll know what I'm talking about. Okay, that's it for this video. I hope that answered the question and where I'm kind of coming from. I struggle with some things, the whole chakra thing and all that. I'm like, well, I think those are just placeholders for a mind, a place for you to focus on. I could, focus on something else just as readily, an item or an object or, a Buddha statue or something like that. Chakras you take with you all the time. Buddha tells you to watch your breath come and go. There's always mechanisms for maintaining an individual's conscious focus while they're in the midst of a meditation process. It shuts off everything else and it grows that pathway instead. So it provides an avenue out. The healing actually, instead of just working on providing the avenue out, says, yes, go ahead and do that, but here's all the things that are in the way. So if you want, turn and face all of that stuff and rid all of this stuff, boom, you'll go quickly and fast and it'll be great soon. But it's hard to get there because it's not comfortable. You need to find the right people. You're going to have to change your environment. I've done that. I've changed jobs and relationships over the years because I am not the person that I was in the beginning. That's a cold, hard fact. Think about it. You have certain value systems. If those change, look at the people around you. If they don't change, you no longer share value systems. And that's a tough one. That's a bad word, actually. I don't mean value systems in like normal day-to-day activities. The guys I work with, in some cases, many of them were like very, I don't know what you would say, just very immature men. As you're driving around and, going to different work sites, them, like ogling over the teenage girls that are, selling the high school car washes for their school activities or something. And, they're little girls out there like our daughters or something like that. And you're like, dude, that's creepy. Don't do that. Those values are not the ones I'm talking about. Those have always been there. What I'm talking about is the things that we hide, the things that we share. Like so many people have been molested or hurt or have shame or something like that. Those are things that at some point in time we're sharing, but we don't know it. We're like hiding fears. And we connect together that way. Once somebody begins exposing those fears, and that's really what is happening. It's not about value systems. It's about, I am now exposing the very fears that you are afraid of. That's a threat to that person somehow in their mind. It represents something. It's an avenue they don't want to go. And that is really the issue. It isn't about value systems per se, but I think we're looking more in this material at ridding our hurt. The kind of person that's going to do that is going to probably not be very judgmental of other people anyway. We're judgmental of something that is bad, not a people, because somebody did something bad. We can make that distinction. We understand the difference between humanity and good and bad things and where they emerge. Okay. I guess I better end this video. I'm just rambling now. All right, take care. And Stefan, thanks again for the question. Everyone else, see you in the next video.